Welcome to the JP8 report. This is James Pierce, JP8 report, episode 285. The U.S. economy is on fire. All right, welcome everyone. This is my last broadcast before Christmas. All right, cool. We're going to be doing a lot of history stuff today, so be prepared for some America 250, and I do have some political stuff, but just a little bit. But most of this is going to be for America 250. Thank y'all very much for tuning in. And please, if you're not already a follower of the JP8 report, click that follow button. And then also go right beside it and click that thumbs up button to give me a like. And if you are interested, please just you can chat with me on the live chat. And I'll try to answer it while I'm talking. Okay, so let's see. So with the JP8 report, I'm on America 250. So the first one is for today, December 23rd, 1775. Ethan Allen, he was captured about a month and a half ago. Ethan Allen arrived as a POW in England until 1778, when he was exchanged in a prisoner exchange. And then also there was a surprise snowstorm. 24 inches of snow fell on North and South Carolina, which hampered the combat operations that was happening down there. So you had Great Bridge and 96, I think it was, that was all taking place in follow-on conflicts afterward and stuff, and they got dumped on by 24 inches of snow. So, but the good part about it, for the little kids, in about a day and a half, they're going to have a white Christmas, because there's no way 2 feet of snow is going to melt in 2 days. So, hey, there's a good part about it. All right, so that's for the 23rd. And I'm already getting news things. Oh, okay. And then, let's see, 24th, which is tomorrow. 24th December 1775. I have a letter from Archibald Carey to Richard Henry Lee about the Battle of Great Bridge. All right. Dear Sir, he wrote this at Williamsburg. Dear Sir, I thank you for your favor on the 11th instant, and hope there is you are informed of the reduction of Quebec. Their language is so hard to read sometimes. Colonel Arnold's success there will have decisive consequences. The loss of a province which cost the people of England $70 million in the acquisition will make them feel a truth which it has long been the business of administration to conceal from them. In the very uncertain state of our business, military as well as civil, it is impossible you could receive any material information from us about the last post. We have since that experienced a very agreeable exchange in our situation. Lord Dunmore, with a rashness which he has marked as a whole conduct, has exposed the 14th Regiment to disgrace and ruin. The account which you will see in the papers of the action at Great Bridge is very exact. The consequences of the action have been such as our most sanguine wishes would have pointed out a dispersion of those people in the counties adjacent to Norfolk, who were unfriendly to our cause and a certain security to our well-wishers. We have in town several of the inhabitants of Norfolk, and Princess Anne, who had joined the governor, particularly with Monsieurs Prip, Mosley, father and son, and Dr. Campbell. The conduct of the former appears to have the consequences of their fears. The last mentioned seems to have acted from very different motives. He is as artful as vicious. The county cordially which subsists between Colonels Howe and Woodford promises us good effects from their junction. The vigilance of the two captains, James and Samuel Barron, their brothers, at Hampton, has produced most essential advantages. They have secured about 4,500 bushels of salt in different vessels, 2,400 of which was the property of two of Lord Dunmore's Norfolk friends, McAllister and Brown. They were promoted by him to the rank of captains in his regiment of sables. The regiment is now dispersed, and the poor deluded wretches are daily brought in our camp in great numbers. It is not yet determined how they shall be disposed of. Barron took a few days thence, and a tender with 1 white and 16 blacks bound to the eastern shore on a foraging business, and good services of Barron have been acknowledged by the House. When he is properly equipped, we have much to expect from his diligence and abilities. Our present force at Norfolk may amount to 1,500 men, including Carolinians. You will hear before this that 6 regiments are voted in addition to the other 2. As it seems probable that the troops will be employed on services not local, it is hoped that they will put upon the general continental establishment. The field officers will be named next week, and a list will be sent to Congress for their approbation. You will find in it some names which you may not have expected, particularly the gentleman who commanded one of our regiments. He has made an offer of his services, and we are well assured his appointment will engage great numbers, officers as well as soldiers, who served under him in the last war. That'd be the War of 1763. The proclamation from Lord Dunmore has had a most extensive good consequence. Men of all ranks resent the pointing a dagger at their throats through the hands of their slaves. Nothing could be more unwise than a declaration of that nature, which involves his friends as well as others in the general danger. We have, however, no apprehensions on that score, yet proper precautions will not be neglected. The naval force at Norfolk consists of the Liverpool, a very fine frigate of 36 guns, the Otter and the King Fisher, sloops of war, the William, a press ship belonging to Ilbeck, Ross and Company, pierced for 22 guns, and a variety of tender and small craft. The whole force there, by the arrival of the Livermore and a storeship with her, may amount to 400 men. Including the ships, companies, and marines, as there are not more than 100 men in the 14th regiment remaining. I cannot suppose that there is a very denomination above 700 or 800 men under Lord Dunmore's direction. Most of the council, resenting the late proclamation, are determined upon the immediate answer to it, and from the language of the president and some of the others who have been in town, we may expect that they will give the deluded publisher a Roland for his Oliver. This business will show if there be any amongst that body weak or wicked enough to remain unmoved by such conduct. If such there you are here to the next post. As the weather has been very severe, I just told you about that from the day prior. For some days past, it is not supposed that any of the larger vessels will move from Norfolk. Doubtless, that tender and small craft will be pushed out in the search of provision and fuel, which have reason to believe is exceedingly scarce by the fleet and etc. of our troops, prevent their receiving any supplies from Norfolk. The business of the convention goes on as usual, slowly, and the great variety of it will, of course, have a good deal of the manner of doing it. The ordinance for increasing the army has been once read in the House and is now in the passage for the second time before the committee. If nothing unforeseen happens, I expect we may rise by the last of the month. I wish you health and happiness, and am very respectfully, dear sir, Archibald Carey. And then he goes, my compliments to your associates, the families of those I know are well. And that's Archibald Carey to Richard Henry Lee. All right. And then that was for Christmas Eve. Now, Christmas Day is a letter from James Lyon to General Washington. All right. So, yeah, so this is Christmas Day. Sir, you doubtless remember to have seen an application from the Committee of Safety in this place for leave to go against Nova Scotia. That's part of Canada. You might probably have been taken then with little difficulty, but we were informed that such of an expedition could not be carried on at this time with proper secrecy, and that there is imminent danger from the king's ships. The same difficulties may possibly lie in that way if any troops are collected and sent from any part near the headquarters. I apprehend that secrecy is as necessary now as it was, and if only one proper person at a suitable place will be ordered to conduct the whole affair, it will probably succeed. There have been many applications, I dare to say, from many persons and places, but were I to point out a suitable place, I should mention this, as it is near Nova Scotia. I should be more at a loss for a proper person to conduct the enterprise. I know of fitter persons than myself in many respects, but are strangers to the province and people. But I have dwelt there for many years, and I have personal acquaintance with almost all the principal men, and know the country well. I should rejoice, therefore, if the appointment to this necessary business, and if your excellency, together with those only who must necessarily be acquainted with the appointment, for I chose none, but they should know that anything of that matter. If your great wisdom should see fit to appoint me, I will conduct the expedition with the utmost secrecy, and will add to the dominance of the Continental Congress another province before our enemies are able to defend it. All I require is sufficient authority to collect as many troops as I see fit in the eastern country, not exceeding 1,000 men, and vessels to convey them to the place of action, and blank commissions for the necessary officers of 1,000 more to be filled up as I shall find expedient in Nova Scotia. There the men are to be raised and put in the continental pay, and left there to defend the country when taken. And farther, and a sufficient quantity of provision, ammunition, arms, and etc., and be sent here about the middle of March. Your Excellency may inquire as much of me as you please of Benjamin Foster Esquire, Captain Stephen Smith, Captain O'Brien, and Mr. Shannon, and these gentlemen I should choose to have as companions, but not to choose that they or any other persons living should know anything of the design if the petition is granted till the time of the embark, except those persons only who have the authority to appoint. The above-mentioned gentlemen know nothing of this application. The reduction of Nova Scotia is a matter of great importance and lies near to my heart on account of many of my many suffering friends in that province, and on account of many advantages that should arise from it to this colony and to this place in particular. But should the government appoint another person to conduct the expedition, I shall cordially acquiesce and pray for his success, as I ever do, that God may smile on all the American arms till our enemies are subdued before us. Your Excellency will not take amiss that my zeal for the honor and safety of my country constrained me to write. I am most respectfully Your Excellency's most humble and obedient servant, James Lyon. Okay, so with this one, I read up on this guy. This guy, he claimed to own land in Nova Scotia, but they were never able to prove he owned land in Nova Scotia. And on several different occasions, he tried to convince the Continental Congress, the Second Continental Congress, to do an expedition like it's going on in Ontario right now, in Quebec, so he could secure land to his own. It never happened. We did one attack into Canada, and as we know right now, it's not going well because of the weather. But that's how that turned out. But he wrote that letter on Christmas Day, 1775. All right? And then December 26, 1775, I have a letter from George Washington to Richard Henry Lee. Hold on, let me refresh. Okay. So, let me get my page set here. I don't know about y'all, but I've been learning a lot by reading this stuff up on the American Revolution. It's a really good thing. Dear sir, remember General Washington and Colonel Richard Henry Lee. Dear sir, your favor on the 6th instant did not reach its place till Saturday afternoon. The money which accompanied it came seasonably, but not as it was so long delayed. In quantum sufficient our demands at this time being particularly great for pay in advance to the troops, pay for their arms, blanketing and care independent of the demands of the commissary and quartermaster general. Lord Dunmore's letters and to General Howe, which were very fortunately fell into my hands and enclosed by me to Congress, will let you pretty fully into the diabolical schemes. If, my dear sir, that man is not crushed before spring, he will become the most formidable enemy America has. His strength will increase as a snowball by rolling, and faster. Humor from General Washington. If some expedient cannot be hit upon to convince the slaves and servants of the impotency of his designs, you will see by his letters what pains he has taken to invite a reinforcement at all events there, and to transplant the war to the southern colonies. I do not think that forcing his lordship to on shipboard is sufficient. Nothing less than depriving him of life or liberty will secure peace to Virginia. As motives of resentment actuates his conduct to a degree equal to the total destruction of the colony, I fear the destination of the naval armament at, it says with the letter P, is too well known to answer the design. I have heard it spoke in common conversations at this place over a fortnight ago, and the other day was told that 2 men of war going into the harbor at New York, supposed to be those intended for the relief of the Asia, were ordered and accordingly sailed immediately out, and, as it is imagined, for Virginia. My letters to Congress will give you the accuracies of this place. I need not repeat them, therefore, in this place, but I must beg you, for good sir, to use your influence in having a court of admiralty or some power appointed to hear and determine all matters relative to captures. You cannot conceive all I am plagued on this head, but how impossible it is for me to hear and determine upon matters of this sort when the facts, perhaps, are only to be ascertained at ports 40, 50, or more miles distant, without bringing the parties hither to great trouble and expense. At any rate, my time will not allow me to be a competent judge of this business. I must also beg the favor of you to urge necessity by appointing a brigadier general to the vacant brigade in this army. The inconvenience we daily experience for want of one is very great, and much more than I want with a colonel to a regiment. For there is the next officer in command does his duty. In a brigade, this may not with propriety happen, and seldom ever done with this kind of regularity. Perfectly indifferent is it to me, though the Congress shall please to appoint to these offices. I only want it done that business may go regularly on. I thank you for the letter enclosed from Colonel Pendleton, but the gentlemen were so long on the road that I had gotten a more particular account of the transactions in Virginia before it came to hand. My best respects to the family, to the good family you are in, and your brothers of the delegation, and be assured that I am, dear sir, your most humble and affectionate servant, George Washington. And then he adds, when will the expresses between Philadelphia and this camp be established? It is expected that letters to and from me to the Continental Post are to pay postage. The information respecting Conley's instructions be concealed in a tree of his saddle may be relied on. It came to me from Mr. Atkinson, the midshipman who commanded the sloop coming to Boston, and take by me, and who the eyewitness to the device which he says are so well done that he should not have been able to discover the place himself, wherein the instructions were secreted without pulling the whole to pieces. He wishes that he wishes that no use may be made of his name. I believe the intelligence was rather inadvertently communicated by Atkinson to Captain Matthews, who acquainted me with it yesterday. And that was General Washington to Richard Henry Lee on the 26th of December. Ready? And then for the final one, this is the cool one. And I did not put this, I think I put it in the show notes a little bit. All right. So, Benjamin Franklin. All right. So with Benjamin Franklin, he, the I don't tread on me things with the snakes and stuff, but he proposed the rattlesnake as a symbol of America. And I'm just going to read this so we have a good grasp of what's going on in it. The following letter from an American American guesser, was published in the Pennsylvania Journal on December 27th, 1775. Its author has been identified as Benjamin Franklin. So he used a pseudonym for a letter, right? Written after fighting had begun between the colonists and the British, but before the Declaration of Independence, it gives us a glimpse into Franklin's observant mind. The rattlesnake shown here is on a $20 bill issued in 1778 by Georgia. I don't have a picture of that for you. The rattlesnake, the Latin motto, Nemo me impune licet, means no one will provoke me with impunity. All right, so this is the letter that the American guesser wrote. All right. And Rob, Merry Christmas back. Can't wait to see you on Thursday. Okay, here we go. I observed on one of the drums belonging to the Marines now raising that there was painted a rattlesnake with this modest motto under it, "Don't tread on me." As I know, it is custom to have some device on the arms of every country. I suppose this may have been intended for the arms of America, and as I have nothing to do with public affairs, and as my time is perfectly on my own, in order to divert an idle hour, I sat down to guess what I could have intended by this uncommon device. I took care, however, to consult on this occasion a person who is acquainted with heraldry, from whom I learned that it is a rule among the learned of the science that the worthy properties of the animal is in the crest born shall be considered, and that the base ones cannot have been intended. He likewise informed me that the ancients considered the serpent as the emblem of wisdom, and in a certain attitude of endless duration, both the circumstances I suppose may have been had in view. Having gained this intelligence and recollecting that countries are sometimes represented by animals peculiar to them, it occurred to me that the rattlesnake is found in no other quarter of the world besides America, and may therefore have been chosen on that account to represent her. But then, the worldly properties of a snake, I judge, would be hard to point out. This rather raised than suppressed my curiosity, and having frequently seen the rattlesnake, I ran over in my mind every property by which she was distinguished not only from other animals, but from those of the same genus and class of animals, endeavoring to fix some meaning to such not wholly inconsistent with common sense. I recollected that her eye excelled in brightness that any other animal, and that she has no eyelids. She may therefore be esteemed an emblem of vigilance. She never begins an attack, nor, once engaged, ever surrenders. She is therefore an emblem, magnanimity, and true courage, as if anxious to prevent all pretensions and quarrels with her. The weapons with which nature has furnished her she conceals in the roof of her mouth, so that, to those who are unacquainted with her, she appears to be the most defenseless animal, and even then those weapons are shown and extended for her defense. She appears weak and contemptible, but her wounds, however small, are divisive and fatal. Conscious to this, she never wounds till she has generously given notice even to her enemy and cautioned him against the danger of treading on her. When I was wrong, was I wrong, sir, to think this is a strong picture of a temper and conduct of America? The poison of her teeth is necessary means of digesting her food, and at the same time is certain destruction to her enemies. This may be understood to intimate that those things which are destructive to our enemies may be not to us only harmless, but absolutely necessary to our existence. I confess I was wholly at a loss what to make of the rattles, till I went back and counted them and found them just 13. Exactly the number of the colonies united in America, and I recollected, too, that this was the only part of the snake which increased in numbers. Perhaps it might be only fancy, but I conceded the painter had shown a half-formed additional rattle, which I suppose may have been intended to represent the province of Canada. 'Tis curious and amazing to observe how distinct and independent of each other the rattles of this animal are, and yet have firmly that they are united together, so as never to be separated but by breaking them into pieces. One of those rattles singly is incapable of producing sound, but the ringing of 13 together is sufficient to alarm the boldest man living. The rattlesnake is solitary and associates of her kind only when it is necessary for their preservation. The winter, the warmth of the number together will preserve their lives, while singly they would probably perish. The power of fascination attributed to her by a generous construction may be understood to mean that those who consider the liberty and blessings which Americans afford and once come over to her never afterwards leave her, but spend their lives with her. She strongly resembles America in this, that she is beautiful in youth, and her beauty increases with her age. Her tongue also is blue and forked as the lightning, and her abode is among impenetrable rocks. Signed, an American guesser. So, and we know this was written by Benjamin Franklin, and we can tell that is why he is one of the founding fathers. And just reading in here about the expansion of the American nation, what pitfalls us, and in direct correlation how a rattlesnake lives and defends herself. That was pretty cool. And I got that from www.greatseal.com/symbol/rattlesnake. All right. So if you ever want to go back and read it. All right. So, and we got our portion. We got to go through this part first if I can get it to work. Go back. There we go. Stop. Okay. Nope. There we go. All right. We have the Dalmatian Burger Group. These are smash burgers and dogs right here in Copper's Cove. I'm pretty sure they'll be open on Christmas Eve, and they're open today. They do smash burgers. They do hot dogs. All their ingredients are fresh. Their buns are homemade. They're located on the west side of Copper's Cove, behind Bush's Chicken, Tuesdays through Saturdays, from 11 to 2 and 5:30 to 7. All right. Give them a whirl. Come on, give them the call of the Dalmatian. All right. So, what are we at? Man, we're at 37 minutes. Man, I must have read a lot. Okay, so big news for this morning. I was going to lead with another one, but this one came out, and I think it was really important because we have to show the American public what the president is doing for our country, right? He put this truth out this morning. The tariffs are responsible for the great USA economic numbers just announced, and they will only get better. Also, no inflation and great national security. Pray for the U.S. Supreme Court, President Donald J. Trump. And he's talking about the tariffs argument that's going on in there right now. All right. I'm getting set. Hold on just a second. There we go. So what he meant by the economic numbers was, even though the report was delayed because of the government shutdown, the GDP came out for July, August, and September. That's a gross domestic product. All right. So I got this from CNBC. The U.S. economy grew at a much greater rate than expected in the third quarter, boosted by strong consumer spending. A delayed report released on Tuesday showed the U.S. GDP, the sum of all goods and services produced in the sprawling U.S. economy, expanded by 4.3%. All right, they expected 3.2%. Consumer spending expanded at 3.5% in the third quarter, after only rising 2.5% in the second quarter. Increases in exports and government spending also boosted growth, while a smaller dip in private fixed investment helped as well. The report originally had scheduled for release on October 30th, but was delayed by the government shutdown. This release also replaces the second estimate, which was set to drop on November 22nd, and the department's Bureau of Economic Analysis will release one final estimate later, which would be toward the end of December. So we'll see another one next month, right? So usually they'll do GDP, and then 1 month later they'll revise the stated GDP, and then another month later they'll do the second revision or the final revision. So what the final economic numbers for the second quarter would be issued out at the end of December. All right, just so you know. A measure of growth called the final sales to private domestic purchasers rose 3% in the quarter, up 0.1 percentage point from the period prior. Huge numbers. The Federal Reserve policymakers watch the data point closely to any signs of consumer demand. The economy moved forward during the period despite persistent signs of inflation pressures, in which we saw didn't happen. The Personal Consumption Expenditures Price Index, the CPI, the Fed's primary inflation gauge, rose 2.8% in the period and 2.9% for core, which excludes food and energy. Both were above prior respective readings of 2.1 and 2.6 and remained well above the Fed's 2% inflation gauge. Also, the chain weighted price index, which accounts for changes in consumer behavior such as matching less expensive products for pricier items, rose 3.8%, a full percentage above the forecast. Though the report represented a large positive view of the economy, markets reacted little at the data as backward looking. Stock futures were slightly negative, while the Treasury yield higher. Elsewhere in the report, corporate profits soared by $166 billion, or 4.2% compared to a gain of $6.8 billion in the second quarter. So that's the economic. I don't see the current stock market. They're doing weather stuff right now. All right. Rob, if you're still on here, and I think you are, what is the Dow showing right now? And just chat it in, okay? All right. So, and then the president announced yesterday that a new class of battleships named after Trump was going to be built. President Trump, the last time a battleship was built was 1944, right? The president announced on Monday plans to build a new class of battleships for the first time in more than 80 years, and is naming them after himself. It's just a Trump class battleship, okay? The first one's being called the Defiant, which I think is in here. The new ships will represent an upgrade in the Navy's Arleigh Burke class missile destroyers, with the current models costing more than $2 million to build. The shipbuilding will begin immediately and will take approximately 2.5 years to complete. While the term battleships is commonly used to describe any kind of warship, the term technically refers to a heavily armored Navy ship armed with large guns capable of serving as command vessel in a naval attack. The U.S. has not commissioned a battleship class vessel since the USS Missouri in 1944. The previous U.S. battleships were named after states. He says they will have 100 times the force, the power of earlier warships, and there have never been anything like these ships. Trump said these have been under design consideration for a long time, and it started with me in my first term. The new class of battleships will be called Trump class and will be capable not only attacking naval targets, but also will be armed with nuclear-capable Tomahawk missiles, adding to the nation's nuclear triad. These cutting-edge vessels will be the most lethal surface warships. Trump said each one of these ships will be the largest battleship in the history of our country. the largest battleship in the history of the world has ever built. While the Navy traditionally names ships after the first built in a series, the initial battleship will take the name USS Defiant. It is not immediately clear how many of these ships will be built, that what the new capabilities might have, or whether legislation will be required to finance the initiative. There are 74 Arleigh-class Burke destroyers in service, built in the beginning of the late 1980s, and they serve as versatile functions, including air defense, carrier support, and launch pad for Tomahawks. The class of ships is named after prominent World War II Admiral Arleigh Burke, who survived 2 Japanese kamikaze attacks during the fight for Okinawa, and later served as Chief of Naval Operations to Presidents Dwight Eisenhower and John F. Kennedy. The Golden Fleet brands lean into Trump's Inauguration Day pledge to usher in a new golden age for the country. He has similarly branded new missile defenses, the Golden Dome, and gilded the Oval Office and Cabinet Room. And, so from what he said yesterday about this, it will have guns on it, hopefully 16-inch guns. It'll be able to fire missiles. And he said something about hypersonic missiles on it, too. We'll see. But he said there's going to be 2 built initially, and it may go up to 10. And then some more other ships and stuff. So that was announced yesterday. That would be really cool to see. Because, I may be wrong. I'm not sure. Let's see. Dow Jones is up 132 points. Thanks a lot, Rob. We're right in here. Thanks. All right. So when you're, when you have a carrier escort group, you got all these. You got the carrier, you got the ships, you got the subs that go with it, and it's one fleet. It's one big magnet, right? And everything's centered about protecting the 10 aircraft carriers we have on duty now, right? So if you bring these battleships into service, what you did is you diverted the magnet all the way away from the aircraft carriers to the battleships with their escort groups, and it diverts. So, and then you can get close to seashore for troop support or submission exercises, right? You can use your cannons or you can use your missiles at the same time and have the same desired effect. So that's probably the cue what they're trying to do with that. All right. Let me get another drink. Where are we at? 49 minutes? All right. So in Arkansas, the Freedom from Religious, what are they called? Freedom from Religion Foundation is demanding that Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders rescind a paid time off for Arkansas government workers for the day after Christmas. And the headline from it is just the same as when General McCullough said in the Battle of the Bulge in 1945, right, which was 80 years ago. 80 years ago. He said nuts when the Germans said surrender or else, right? She said, I will do no such thing, which is the same concept as General McCullough. Yes, I agree. So I'm going to read this, and then I'm going to read what she wrote, the letter that she wrote. All right. Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders is firing back at a legal group who took issue with her recent move to close state offices on Friday, December 26, to celebrate Christmas and give employees more time with their families. After issuing the proclamation closing state offices for Christmas, Sanders received a letter from the Freedom from Religion Foundation, a group focused on the separation of church and state, calling for her to reverse the move and claiming it was unconstitutional. I don't see how it could be. She gave everyone. She just didn't give Christians the day off. She gave everybody the day off. In a response letter obtained by Fox News Digital, Sanders told FFRF, she said, "We'll do no such thing." I can't wait to read that in this letter. You say that my communication as governor must be neutral on matters of religion. Sanders wrote, "I say that even if I wanted to do that, it would be impossible. Christmas is not about an end-of-the-year holiday with broadly observed secular cultural aspects, as your letter states. It's not gifts, trees, stockings that make this holiday special. Christmas is a celebration of the birth of Jesus Christ. And if we are to honor him properly, we should tell his miraculous world-changing story too." I'm going to read that one just a second. Sanders went on to call it iconic that she received the letter claiming I was alienating my non-Christian constituents as I was leaving a menorah lighting ceremony with people from all across America. Man, she said they missed the point, which is true. So I wish. Well, I'm gonna put it on the screen and read it. Okay. So here it is. To Christopher Lane, Legal Counsel, Freedom from Religion Foundation. Dear Christopher, earlier this week, I issued a proclamation closing state offices on Friday, December 26, to celebrate Christmas and offer state employees more time with their families. I am in receipt of a letter from your organization calling on me to rescind that proclamation because it gives a detailed theological narrative presenting core Christian doctrines, including the divinity of Jesus Christ, his crucifixion for the sins of mankind, his resurrection, and his anticipation return in glory. Please know that I will do no such thing. Period. Full stop. You say that my communications as governor must be neutral on matters of religion. I say that even if I wanted to do that, it would be impossible. Christmas is not simply an end-of-year holiday with broadly observed secular cultural aspects, as your letter states. It's not gifts, trees, stockings that make this holiday special. Christmas is a celebration of the birth of Jesus Christ, and if we are to honor him properly, we should tell his miraculous world-changing story properly too. Ironically, I received your letter claiming I was alienating my non-Christian constituents as I was leaving a menorah lighting ceremony with people from all across Arkansas. I doubt they would say that my administration alienates non-Christians. In fact, they would say the opposite, that only by voicing our own faith and celebrating other faiths can we make our state's diverse religious communities feel seen and heard. I will end by saying that you missed the point of my proclamation. It was not to browbeat readers with Christian doctrine, but rather to point to the humility of Christ's birth and to the amazing fact that the King of Kings was not born in a place or a temple, but in a humble manger attended by poor shepherds. In this spirit of humility, I'm reminded that Christ did not dine with wise Pharisees or rich men, but rather with fishermen and outcasts. Though you may enter this season with bitterness, know that Christ is with you, that he loves you, and that he died for your sins just the same as he did for mine and everyone else's. Merry Christmas, Sarah Huckabee Sanders. That was a really well written letter. And you know, she was President Trump's press secretary also. So she understands that stuff. We are at 56 minutes. I got one more I can read real quick, and this is pure political stuff right here. So this is from the Texas scorecard. Court backs Texas GOP's rejection of Supreme Court candidate. Okay, so when you apply for the primary in Texas as a judicial candidate, you have to pay a fee and you have to supply petition names to be able to get on the ballot. All right? So the Republican Party of Texas, they're responsible for all the applications to get on the primary. All right, so the RPT rejected David Rogers' application after determining he failed to submit the required number of valid petition signatures. A Travis County judge ruled that the Republican Party of Texas properly rejected a candidate, which would be David Rogers, a petition to run for a seat on the Texas Supreme Court, dissolving a temporary restraining order and denying further injunctive relief. Judge Amy Meacham ruled that the party acted within its authority, a decision that keeps David Rogers, a Pflugerville City Council member, off the Republican primary ballot for the Texas Supreme Court, Place 8. Rogers had sought to challenge incumbent Brett Busby. Rogers had briefly secured a temporary restraining order last week that paused certain election-related actions. On Monday, however, Meacham dissolved that order and declined the issue of a temporary injunction, allowing the Republican Party's determination to stand. At the center of the dispute was the party's authority to determine which candidates qualify for the primary ballot. The court ruling affirmed that the Republican Party of Texas acted within its right when it rejected Rogers' application for failing to meet ballot access requirements. According to court filings, the party rejected Rogers' application after determining he failed to submit the required number of valid petition signatures from each of the state's 15 courts of appeals districts required for candidates seeking statewide judicial office. Party officials concluded Rogers fell short in at least the 8th Court of Appeals district. The filing states that several signatures were deemed invalid because some signers were not properly registered voters in the relevant district. Others contained incorrect or incomplete voter information, and multiple signatures appeared to be written in the same handwriting. He may be in legal trouble there, raising concerns that under state law that signatures must be made by each signer individually. The party also cited concerns that some petition circulars may have misrepresented Rogers' background while collecting signatures, and alleged Rogers has denied. Because Rogers submitted an application just hours before the filing deadline, the party argued the court agreed that he was not entitled to submit additional signatures after the deadline to cure any deficiencies. Matter of fact, you have to start your petition over if there's a mistake on it. So you got to make sure it's right. The RPT General Counsel Rachel Palmer Hooper told the Texas Scorecard the decision reflected the party's responsibility to safeguard the integrity of the elections. Election integrity is paramount, concern to the Republican Party of Texas. Hooper said the party will diligently adhere to the applicable laws governing signature petitions, ensuring the integrity of the electoral process. Hooper said that on the final day of filing, 2 candidates submitted application signatures, the petitions to the Texas Supreme Court seats, but party officials determined that they failed to obtain the required number of valid signatures in each judicial district. As such, their applications were rejected. The ruling also comes as the Republican Party of Texas continues to press for broader legal argument in favor of closed primaries, asserting that parties have a constitutional right to control their nomination process and determine who may appear on their ballots without interference from non-members or the courts. The party is currently suing the Texas Supreme Court, the Texas Secretary of State, to implement closed primaries. That'd be Jane Nelson. Two other would-be candidates who were similarly denied ballots access have also filed lawsuits against the party. Rogers, who represented himself in the case, he should be a lawyer since he wants to be on the Supreme Court, said he was disappointed by the ruling, indicated the fight is not over. I have practiced in front of Judge Meacham for years and have tremendous respect for her and the ways she runs her courtroom. Rogers said, I am of course disappointed by the day's ruling and reviewing a full range of legal options going forward. I continue to believe that the people of Texas deserve options when it comes to nominations for state's highest court. Over 1,000 Texans signed petitions asking to have me on the ballot, and those must not be silenced by machine politicians. There is more to come, Rogers said. The machine can't stop the stream. And it's capital Z, capital T, capital stream. So I don't know what he means by that. So if you if you want to run like for this one, right? So what he has to do is he has to pay I think it's like a $3,500 filing fee. It is to file your application to get on the primary ballot. But also, in his case, he has to go to the 8th Court of Appeals, all the counties inside the 8th Court of Appeals, and get petitions assigned on each one of those to be able to qualify for the ballot. Like Kyle Hawkins. He was running for the Texas Supreme Court, and he is in the 10th Court of Appeals area, right? So I was given a petition for him, and I had to go get signatures for that. And they had to be qualified voters. They had to live in Coryell County because it's in the 10th Court of Appeals area. And all my signatures had to come from Coryell County. And they had to be individual people to sign that to qualify to sign it. I can't go in and do the signatures for everyone and get all of their stuff because it's illegal, right? So the person who did that petition probably is going to be charged with election crime, all right? That article was written by Brandon Waltons from the Texas Scorecard. All right, so I'm out of time. Hold on. And I'm losing my voice. Okay, guys. So that let me show you these are my socials. Take a look at them real quick. I'm losing my voice. All right, so I'm back. So that is the JP8 report for the day. There's not going to be one Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, unless there's some major, like nuclear missiles falling or something like that, 10.6 earthquake or massive tsunami or something like that. I won't have a JPA report on Friday. That's why I did all the America 250 events going through Saturday. My next hard time will be next Monday. And then next Tuesday, I'll do the same thing as I did today. All right? So, I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. I hope everyone has a great time. Can't wait for tomorrow because we have a tamale dinner. That's our tradition in our family. We have tamales, tamale casserole, frioles, homemade rice. We got a holiday log. Some other stuff's coming over. And then on Christmas Day, we're having ham. I'm going to smoke a chicken. And we have other stuff to go with it also. My wife said they're making a sweet potato pie, a pecan pie, and a pumpkin pie for Christmas Day, and assorted cookies. So if you want to come over, you can. Rob, don't say nothing because I know you're coming over. And then we have church tonight here in Coppers Cove at Victory Baptist Church at 7 p.m. If you're looking for a church to go to, come on out. We're on the west side of Cove also. All right. So it's James Pierce with the JPA report. I'll catch you on the flip side, which will be next Monday after Christmas. I hope everyone enjoys themselves. Be very safe and be very polite, okay? I'm out.